Well, unfortunately overshadowed in its life by its big brother, the PS2, and its direct competition, the DS, the little PSP was an RPG juggernaut in its own right. Before we get started, let me just say that I will not be including ports or remakes in this list that we've previously seen in English, so say goodbye to many of the Ys games, the Final Fantasy series, and the Star Ocean games. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dig right into the top 10 JRPGs for this underappreciated portable. Number 10, The Legend of Heroes: Song of the Ocean. This is the gripping conclusion to a trio of games released on the PSP known as the Gagharv Trilogy. Here, you'll join Forte, Una, and McBain, also their trusty dog Jan, as they travel around the world of Welt Luna, lifting people's spirits through the power of music and collecting resident stones to save the world. Yeah, the game has a spotty translation with copious amounts of backtracking, but I say that this kind of adds to its charm. Besides, what 90s era game didn't have these things? To its credit though, it does have an on-screen encounters which, by the midpoint of the game, become extremely easy to avoid and a fast-forward feature for the battles. Also, the Resident Stone acts as materia, granting stat gains and spells as you equip them, and this allows for a surprising amount of strategy and customization in an otherwise simple game. If you like what you see, start up the trilogy with Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch and solve the mystery of the Gagharv. Number 9, Growlancer: Wayfarer of Time. Yes, this is a port, but we never got the original game in English, so I'm including it. The Growlancer series is a real-time strategy RPG with fully realized towns, dungeons, and a world map, customizable party members, branching paths, and multiple endings. Each game is lovingly crafted, and many Japanese fans regard this game as the best in the series, and since they've gotten them all, who am I to say that they're wrong? The story is self-contained and features on-screen encounters which can be avoided and a massively customizable ring system. In lieu of weapons, each character equips a ring which has slots for gems and increases stats or grants new spells. The story follows Crevenil and a band of mercenaries who discover that angels are coming down from the heavens to oppress humanity, and it's his job to stop them. Number 8, Wild Arms XF. Taking a stark departure from the rest of the series, XF is a strategy RPG, not a traditional turn-based JRPG. But despite this drastic change in gameplay for the series, it really does pull it off. Like many strategy RPGs, XF implements a class system which is deep and engaging. Also, the storyline and characters are absolutely hysterical, and the game features my favorite villain of all time, Edna.
Me with her little speeches, that little chit. If she wasn't my trump card, I'd wring her neck until her eyes popped out.
The story follows Clarissa as she tries desperately to restore the kingdom of Elysius. The missions are varied. Many times you will not just have to defeat all the enemies, but pull a switch, rescue villagers, or save prisoners without being caught. The only thing that really keeps it from getting a higher place on the list would be that many missions pretty much require you to use certain job classes, which can really put a damper on your strategy and creativity. Number 7, Ys 7. Like Wild Arms XF, this game marks a departure for the Ys series, just not as drastic. It's still a solid action RPG, but I guess Adol got tired of adventuring alone and wanted to shake things up a bit, because this time around, you actually get a party of 3 people to control, all with different combos, skills, and spells. You begin with just your trusted ally Dogi, but as you journey through the land of Altago, you'll be joined by many others with their own stories and motivations. It's a great shake-up in over the 30-year-old formula, and one that the Ys series is keen on keeping if Ys 8 is any indication. The plot is your typical find 5 dragons and save the world mumbo-jumbo, but it's well done. NPCs are lively, and the characters are lovable. But let's be honest, you play an Ys game for the gameplay, and it's such a fun departure from the traditional Ys formula that it reminds me of Secret of Mana, which is amazing because, hey, I love Secret of Mana. Number 6, Brave Story New Traveler. Originally based on a novel, then subsequently turned into a manga and an anime, this series has quite the following in Japan. But like a lot of games on my list, it flew under the radar in America. However, it's a shame because this is a solid throwback to traditional JRPGs of a simpler time. The The story follows Tatsuya, who gets sucked into the world of vision after his friend Miki falls ill. All he has to do is travel around the new world gathering gems and voila, his friend will be saved. Yeah, so it's a gather a crystal storyline, but it's well done, and the characters that you meet along the way are lovable. The world map is a joy to traverse. Also, the game employs a unique craze system where monsters can be craved and powered up by using certain skills or magics or even items on them. Once you do, if you defeat the super powerful crazed monster, you get extra experience, gold, and items. I've never really seen anything quite like it, and it's addictive and fun to craze them all. Number 5. Helix Force. When I picked up this hidden gem from GameStop, I figured that it would just be another JRPG to pass the time, but I quickly realized that it was much more than that. It's one of the best RPGs since the SNES era. Similar to Manichemia 2, you choose from one of two protagonists to start who have completely different parties, motivations, and storylines, and you end up meeting all throughout the game, but you never really join forces. I love this mechanic, and I wish that more games used it. It really feels like you're playing two games in one. The story is encompassing. You inhabit the planet of Norvia, whose orbit is locked to the sun, which means that one hemisphere is always light and the other eternal night. The people on each side of the planet also worship a different goddess. On the light side, the goddess of creation, and on the dark, destruction. As you play through the game, every little thing that you do will cause the balance of the world to shift towards either creation or destruction. This unique mechanic then causes further changes in the game's content, culminating with multiple endings for each of the protagonists. This is a hidden gem that cannot be missed. Number 4. Jeanne d'Arc. Does the name sound familiar? Well, it should if you paid attention in history class, as the story loosely follows Joan of Arc and her struggle against the English during the 100 Years' War. However, this being a fantasy video game, they do take some liberties such as demonic possession and magical powers. Jeanne d'Arc is a grid-based strategy RPG beautifully crafted, and the story is presented in animated cutscenes complete with voice acting. The battle system is loosely based on Fire Emblem, in that the battles employ a rock-paper-scissors system, but thankfully there's no permadeath. If it did have permadeath, I would burn it in the fire that I've reserved for all the older Fire Emblem games. Keeping with the classics, the gameplay pretty much follows the Final Fantasy Tactics formula, except that there are no classes. Instead, each playable character pretty much has their own class, and it's up to you to see how best to use them. Can you save France from the unjust English occupation? Find out in this gem from level 5. Number 3. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Wow, one of my top 10 lists actually includes a Final Fantasy game? I'm just as shocked as you are, viewers. This is a prequel to the original game, but instead of being a turn-based game, it's an action RPG starring Zack, Arius' boyfriend. The gameplay is tight and streamlined, so you never wander around aimlessly wondering what to do. Also, Zack can utilize materia to change his stats and learn spells. If you ever need to level up or want to partake in side missions for bonus items, all you need to do is go to a save point and you'll automatically be transported to where the mission takes place, and once you complete it, you'll be teleported back. It's a good system and allows for you to get a few missions in on the fly when you don't have enough time to really invest in the game proper. When I first heard about this game, I assumed that it was just a quick cash grab by Square Enix to capitalize on the success of Final Fantasy VII, but I was wrong. This is a wonderful game, well worth your attention. Number 2. Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky Second Chapter. There was a lot of hype surrounding the release of the first Trails in the Sky game, and while I did play the Gag Harf trilogy first, Trails in the Sky was what started my love affair with the series. Taking place immediately following the earth-shattering ending of the first game, Estelle is out for blood, and I love her take-no-prisoners attitude. All the other characters from the first game come back as well, and you can actually mix and match your party instead of just having the 2 party members join your party per chapter, like in the first game. The amount of lore that's set up in regards to Liberal, Erebonia, Crossbow, and Zemuria is astronomical, and it does set the stage for later games in the series as well. The gameplay, while turn-based, is also strategically grid-based and makes use of movements around the battlefield and attacks target areas as well as enemies, similar to Chrono Trigger and later games in the series such as Trails of Cold Steel. If the first game moved too slow for you and you found it lacking, do yourself a favor and check this installment out anyway. It's much more fast-paced and is an all-round excellent game. Number 1, Popolo Choice. I can hear it right now in the comments. Popolo Choice? What's that? I've never heard of this. How could you possibly put this above Trails in the Sky or Crisis Core? It looks too kiddie. This is a garbage game. Well, I'm here to tell you, you couldn't be more wrong. This is easily the best game that we got in the system, and I would go so as far as to put this game toe-to-toe with classics such as Chrono Trigger or Earthbound. It's really that good. The story follows Prince Pietro as he goes on a journey to save his mother's soul. Along the way, he meets colorful characters such as the forest witch Narcia and the soap opera villain, the Gammy Gammy Devil. Each character is masterfully written and funny, the NPCs are fleshed out, and the world really does feel alive. The world map is interconnected and naturally flows, so it feels kind of like the maps in Earthbound, with secrets and treasures around every corner. The battle system is similar to that of Trails in the Sky, which is a turn-based tactical system where you're fighting on a grid and attacks affect the squares on the grid rather than the enemy. The story and character interactions are adorable. The animated cutscenes are gorgeous and the game is timeless. No RPG gamer should be without this in their collection. Well, these are my top 10 best PSP RPGs. What are yours? Do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.